All right, the next tier. This is the fun tier. These are the guys who are off to Hall of Fame starts. I don't think anyone debates that if they just keep doing what they're doing, they will be Hall of Famers. This is the on-pace tier. At wide receiver, I have the aforementioned Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown may be a little controversial, but go look at his stats.
I love that he's on this list.
I mean, if he keeps the stats up for the next, and he's young too, was 20 heading into the NFL. If he keeps his stats up, he will be in the Hall of Fame conversation. Okay, at other side of the ball, Patrick Surtain on a Hall of Fame start already, on his rookie deal, getting a Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons on a Hall of Fame start. Penei Sewell on a Hall of Fame start. Kyle Hamilton, Tristan Wirfs, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Dexter Lawrence, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, Creed Humphrey, and then two quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
Trey Smith on this list, or is he?
He's not off to a Hall of Fame start.
Is he on the next tier? Well, we're talking. You said we were going to have the conversation about Super Bowls and leveraging.
He would be in the last tier if anything. Could go on a run tier.
Yeah, I mean, string together. So, and he's playing next to Creed. It's like Mike Munchak, Bruce Matthews. For any of you football historians, that was the two guys that were pretty good at it that played next to each other. I don't know. I just, I'm romanticizing my buddies going into the Hall of Fame together. Would be cool.
Yeah, anyone from this tier that you push back on, say they're not off to a Hall of Fame start to their career.
I think we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see if we want to see those guys from the Ravens, the aforementioned Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton, really cement themselves into these conversations. They got to keep it up. That's why Hamilton's in the on pace, but the Ravens have to win some big games too. I think this is where it becomes a team thing, because a lot of questions are going to be asked about the superstar team in Baltimore that ever ended up winning anything. And these are real questions. And I'm not pointing my finger at Kyle Hamilton or anything like that. But look, you asked, we got to, because I don't have an argument for Josh Allen. I don't have an argument against Dexter Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Sauce Gardner. He's been an absolute Captain Insano. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Micah Parsons, if he can stay healthy, if he can just stay on the right side of the microphone, and if things can get cleaned up there, no doubt. Tristan Wirfs is just makes it look easy. Fred Warner is the prototype for what the linebacker position is supposed to look like. Look, I love the list. The guy that I'm happiest about being in this segment here, outside of Creed Humphrey, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just think he exemplifies everything about being a football player. And, there's a reason he's on the list. So young players take note and make a list of the guys they picked ahead of you.
So Amon-Ra St. Brown, for his career now, 4 years, he's averaging over 100 yards, over 100 catches per season, 430 receptions through 4 seasons. And he's averaging over 1,200 yards per season. That's pretty insane. That's a pretty insane start to your career.
Yeah.
You may not be like, oh, that guy's not necessarily.
And he's likable. People, there's something to be said for that. Okay. So, yeah.
And he's 25. So there's
Life's not fair. Life's not fair.
Off to a Hall of Fame start. Only 3 guys in this from the 2022 class, though. Only 3 guys who are 3 years in, but I think they've been that good. It's the 3 DBs. It's Sauce, it's Stingley, it's Kyle Hamilton. Obviously, career length, injury history, it's fickle, but I think with all 3 of those guys, you can say what we've seen in the first 3 years is truly special stuff. We're going to do the Hall of Very Good before we take a quick break. But these are the guys. This is probably going to be where the most debate happens. These are the guys that I just think are on the outside looking in. Not to say they can't do something crazy. They're towards the end of their careers. They can't do something crazy over the next few seasons to change that. But I just don't think right now with their resumes they're in. And the first 2 are probably the most controversial. They're teammates. It's Davante Adams and it's Matt Stafford. Davante Adams currently 33rd in NFL history in receiving yards, 10th in receiving touchdowns. He has 3 first-team All-Pros, 6 Pro Bowls. He's only 32, so maybe he has a few years left in the tank. Stafford, he doesn't have the accolades in terms of All-Pros, Pro Bowls, only 2 Pro Bowls in his entire career. But he is top 10 in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. He's 37 years old. He should be making his way up those lists. Those matter. Do you think either of those guys are getting in when it's all said?
I'm not even going to entertain the conversation about Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, in my opinion, is a Hall of Famer.
Really?
Well, I think if he finishes strong this year, it's in bold print. And the Davante Adams conversation, it reminds me of a player that we were talking about earlier, Andrew Whitworth. Look, the numbers for Davante Adams don't lend themselves to him being a Hall of Famer, but you look at his body of work, his ability to stay in that upper echelon list of receivers for so long, and he has the opportunity to cap it at the end in a huge market with a quarterback who can get him the football. This feels like that story beginning. And there's a reason these two are together on this list, because if they do have success this year, it'll be a no-brainer, in my opinion. If they were to win a Super Bowl, it would be, they'd waltz in together.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's the thing. There is time, but these guys, I just think Hall of very good when it's all said and done. Matt Stafford to me is kind of the quintessential what I was talking about earlier. I was never a top 5 guy at quarterback. I feel similarly about like Eli Manning, and Eli Manning, I think, even reached some like higher highs in single season than Stafford did. So that's why.
That's Arch beating down the door right now. He's coming in here. He's next. He said, I'm going to get into.
The guy I want to hear your take on.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack is on this list as well. Former Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 2010s All-Decade, 9-time Pro Bowler, 32nd, though, all-time in sacks, 107.5. He's 34, so maybe he moves a little up that list, but do you think he ends up getting in when it's all said and done?
I'm just going to paint the picture of Khalil Mack for those of you who just look at the numbers and go by name recognition. Khalil Mack was on a very bad team and played extremely well. And he was one of those guys that burned brightest for a few years. There's a few stars in the galaxy that burned extremely bright, the brightest burning stars. He was one of them. And the thing that separates Khalil Mack from other guys at the edge position is his ability and willingness to play the run. His leadership abilities are something that you just can't teach. And when he is in your locker room, you're a better football team for it, not only on the field, but off the field. My old man played defensive end and defensive tackle and all that, and he was a sack getter, but his sacks don't put him in Hall of Fame territory either. But he played the run, and he was versatile, and he could do anything. And Khalil Mack is the same way. I think the thing that makes him stand out, though, is his ability and willingness to play against the run.
I put these 3 at the top because I think they are the most interesting conversations in this tier. If you want to put them in, I'm not gonna be like, no, you can't put them in. I just think ultimately this is where they end up, but I think they're all 3 very interesting conversations given how their careers have gone out. Now we get some guys who are less interesting conversations, but obviously for one reason or another, intriguing. Danielle Hunter, he could even be in like the could go on a run, because at 30 years old, the guy hasn't lost a step at all. He's still playing as good as he ever has.
And he's opposite Anderson.
Opposite Will Anderson, 99.5 sacks in his career. So it's going to go over 100 here this season. He's got double-digit sacks the last 3 seasons. So like if he keeps
slow starter, which means he could finish burning really bright blue. You know what I'm saying?
If he keeps that pace up for, say, 3 to 4 more years and gets to the 140-ish range of sacks, it's a much different conversation. But right now, he's 46th all-time, 5-time Pro Bowler, no All-Pros to his name. But again, a guy who could be ageless given that he's 30 years old, showing no signs of slowing down. Another guy who's shown no signs of slowing down, Cam Hayward of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not going to put up the numbers, but he's DT. So DTs, you more have to just actually watch tape and see how good they are. And for him, he's a 4-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and he's playing into 36 years old now. And last year, truly hadn't lost a step, was still one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. If that continues on, if he's like an Andrew Whitworth-esque end of his career where he's at 38, still dominating, we are probably putting Cam Hayward in the Hall of Fame at that point.
I mean, I don't know how a guy like Cam Hayward can remain physically for doing it for so long and the way that he's done it. I think that's a really good one to hit. Danielle Hunter, I mean, I remember when he showed up, I was in like year 2 or 3, and this guy shows up. He comes off the sideline for Minnesota. I'm like, who is that guy? You know what I mean? But he didn't know what he was doing at first. And then once he started to figure out, I'm glad I was out of the league because now he's on this tear. Look, if the Steelers make a big run this year, it's all about runs, dude, and timing. It's like the surfing analogy, bro. Cam Hayward is, he's here for a big wave this year. They bring in all this help around him, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Pittsburgh. It could be awesome for Cam Hayward.
All right, the other guy who's up there in age, but definitely lost a step, we'll say, Cam Jordan of New Orleans Saints. He actually is second among active players in sacks.
He needs 7 sacks to catch Von Miller.
Yeah. He is a 1-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team, but an 8-time Pro Bowler, and was part of the 2010s All-Decade team. He's a very, very good player. Again, I'm not here to denigrate any of these guys. Had incredible career. He's not Cam Hayward, though, where he's not putting out any more tape that's going to work in his favor, and hasn't for a couple of years now. But longevity does still matter. I just think he's a guy who was always very good, very consistent, very reliable. One of those first ballot New Orleans Saints Hall of Famers, team Hall of Fame guys that you love as a fan. Fortunately, I just don't think full Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Famer.
That's a lot of sacks.
Next one, George Kittle.
That's a lot of sacks.
George Kittle. This one, I don't know. His candidacy, I debated for a while because he's 13th already in receiving yards. He's had so many injuries and has undeniably been a top 2 tight end for
a decade,
half a decade at least. And so from that perspective, he kind of fits that bill, but only 2 first-team All-Pros, 3 second-team All-Pros, 6 Pro Bowls. I think the injuries here have cost him. Now, if he has longevity, if he stays at this level for 3 to 4 more years, I think he probably gets in. But right now, I kind of did this as like you're ending their career at this point in time. I don't know if he'd be a Hall of Famer right now.
Don't tell Katie Mox.
And his teammate,
she'll lose her shit. She'll scream at you about that. She's the biggest Niners fan I think I've ever met.
Well, Christian McCaffrey fits the bill for me as well. Only 3,000-yard seasons in his career. He's 87th all-time in rushing yards. He does have the high-end accolades, though. He's 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro. But at 29 years old, given the injury history he has, I don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Laramie Tunsil, 5-time Pro Bowler. He could have a nice second act of his career, but he's a guy who feels like a very much Hall of Very Good. Joe Thuney, I put in here. He is a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, only a 3-time Pro Bowler. Awesome player. Is that enough? Is that a Hall of Fame resume in your eyes?
I can tell you this because Joe Thuney showed me that he's a little bit different than others. His technique lends itself to longevity. His background in wrestling, his knowledge and understanding of what works for him is like unshakable. And a guy like Thuney, I could see having a third act. He had the second act in Kansas City. This is the third act now in Chicago. And while he may not add another Super Bowl, I mean, four Super Bowls, pretty damn good. He may very well add another All-Pro to that list. I think Joe Thuney is a guy that I would project to be a Hall of Famer.
Okay. All right. Next up, Nuke Hopkins. 26th receiving touchdowns, 21st in receiving yards, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second team. Unfortunately, I mean, he played on some god-awful teams, right? He played with some god-awful quarterbacks. And by the time he started to get good quarterbacks, was more towards the end of his career. And then started to get banged up, and now he's pretty much a shell of his former self. But he feels like kind of like the Anquan Bolden tier. Like, I don't think Anquan Bolden's ever making the Hall of Fame. Anquan Bolden has better numbers than Nuke Hopkins, though. Was an awesome receiver in his own right.
Wow.
Just doesn't feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be enough to get him a gold jacket. And the last guy, Stephon Gilmore, former Defensive Player of the Year, a rarity at the cornerback position. He won one, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, but just doesn't feel like he's going to get the nod. Didn't feel like he had dominant years for long enough. And obviously a slow start to his career in Buffalo before going to New England, where that was his best years, but still, I don't see it happening.